Okay, so we're back. Now, what I want to work on next is circular movement. We're going to work on circling. We've covered our forward shuffle in our retreat shuffle. We've covered lateral shuffling. Sorry, excuse me. We've covered lateral shuffling. Okay. So now we need to be able to add in a little bit more sophistication, because there may be times when you can't just maintain just this straightforward positioning. Maybe your opponent has a little more sophisticated footwork and he ends up coming out to a 45. Maybe you advance to strike and he comes out to a 45. So what are you going to do? You've just opened up, you know, your back and your side to him. So in order to close that back door, we've got to be able to shift and turn to face our opponent. So the way that we do that, the way that I prefer to do that, is going to be, we're going to start by turning our lead foot in the direction that we want to turn. Then we're going to swing the other leg around. Okay? So again, if I want to turn a quarter turn to clockwise, I'm going to shift my lead foot, swing my other leg around. Okay? So again, that looks like if I'm going to turn 90 degrees to my right, I'm going to pivot my lead foot, swing my other leg around. Okay? If I'm going to pivot 90 degrees to my left, turn the lead foot, pivot the rear leg around. Okay? So again, if we're working our basic shuffle footwork, we're doing step and slide, step and slide, step and slide, step and slide. We step and we attack. Your opponent flanks us here. We turn and pivot to face our opponent. Okay? Or actually, pivot and turn probably would be a better way of putting that. So we step forward, pivot, turn, face that opponent. Keep your body squared up to that opponent. Don't let him flank you. Okay? So that's basically what that looks like. So that combined with our other footwork, now we're starting to get a lot more mobility. Now we're starting to be able to move in various different directions. And so what we want to do is we want to put that all together. So as we're moving, I want you to kind of think about shadow boxing. I want you to focus, however, on your footwork. Focus on your footwork. There's all kinds of different levels of shadow boxing. And oftentimes when we think about shadow boxing, of course, we think about striking. You know, we end up spending a lot of time working our strikes, doing this kind of thing, but we probably, or at least I've been guilty in the past, of not spending enough time working on my mobility. Mobility is the key to being able to make any of your striking techniques work. You have to be able to close the gap. You have to be able to maintain a certain distance in order to make your kickboxing effective. So your mobility really is the first brick. It's the foundation for all the other techniques that you're going to do. So you really need to spend some time working on your footwork and getting that down so you can maintain that structure, you can maintain those mechanics, you can maintain your balance while moving in cooperation with somebody. So this is where we're going to start getting into partner drills here pretty soon. But right now, what I want you to focus on is just your mechanics. I work as a physical therapist, and one of the things as a physical therapist that I see is that what people oftentimes do is they get an intellectual concept of what it is, what the task is that we want them to do in therapy, and so they say, oh well, I know that now. But then they only repeat the process, they only repeat that procedure a few times, maybe 5, 10 times, then they say, well, I know that now. And I know from my neuroscience that that's not the way it works. You need to repeat. You need to repeat things in order to train your body, train your nervous system, train your muscles, train both halves of your body, both sides of your body, to react in a certain way without the burden of having to think about the technique. Because if you have to think about your footwork when you're in the middle of a sparring match, or if you have to think about your footwork when you're in the middle of a fight, it's over. You're already done. You're going to be too slow. This needs to be drilled to the point where it's automatic, just like walking. Okay? You cannot be thinking about it when you're trying to pull off other techniques. So really spend some time with this. Work on it. Even though the concepts and the techniques are simple, get it to the point where you're so comfortable with it, it feels just like walking. Okay? So we're going to be doing our basic step and slide shuffle, step and slide. Let's step out to the right, let's shuffle back to the left, stepping, stepping. We're going to step, slide. Oh, we got to pivot, pivot. Step and slide to the left, step and slide to the right. Let's pivot again. Okay, so that's basically what our footwork's going to look like when we're okay. And as you get quicker at it, you'll notice right there, I swung my leg and pivoted the lead foot at the same time, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The key is that you maintain your structure. That's the important thing. Watching young fighters do their thing in cage matches, I see a lot of times where the fundamentals are abandoned very quickly, and oftentimes that's when the fighter gets in trouble, because they've abandoned their fundamentals, they've abandoned their basic defensive structure, and they're relying on their physical attributes to win the fight for them, which is in some cases not bad. Some guys are very talented, and oftentimes that does work for them. However, sooner or later you're going to meet up with somebody who has better attributes than you. And what I mean by attributes are things like quickness, speed, strength, coordination, timing. Those are all physical attributes that each of us has in varying degrees. And you may be very talented. You may have good strength. Maybe you've been a wrestler in the past, and so you have good explosiveness out of your basic stance, and you've got good speed, and you can close the distance very quickly and very efficiently. But maybe the opponent you're fighting has better timing than you, and so when you shoot for that double leg takedown or that single leg takedown, their timing is good enough that they can, boom, just pick that knee up, or they can sidestep and boom, whatever it is. You know, you may come up against somebody who has a complementary attribute that basically equalizes the match. So what happens when that occurs, when you've got attributes that more or less cancel each other out? Have you ever heard of the phrase, technique prevails? That's when that comes into play. Technique does prevail. And when you've got a situation where you've got matching attributes or complementary attributes that cancel each other out, that's when technique prevails. And so it's important that you continue to work on your attributes and to emphasize those and to use those, because those are your strengths, and you really want to work your strengths. You want to develop them and grow those strengths. But you also want to keep working on your technique. Always, always, always working on your technique. There's never any reason not to. Professional boxers, you know, people like Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, all the great names in any fighting sport that you can imagine, all throughout their career, there were times when they went back to the fundamentals. I've seen video of Muhammad Ali working his jab, which is one of the most fundamental techniques that you can learn in boxing. But you always, always, always work on your technique. There's always a way you can improve upon your fundamental techniques. And, you know, that's again why Bruce Lee said that he did not fear a man who has practiced 1,000 kicks one time. Instead, he fears a man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times. That's what he meant by that. It's important for you to really pay attention to your technique and your fundamentals. Okay. Also, there's a concept of that critical mass, that critical threshold when you've got it. I really like what Eddie Bravo once said. Eddie Bravo once said that there is a magic number to getting it, whatever it is that you're working on, whether it be a jiu-jitsu technique or a combination or whatever. There is kind of a magic number, and for each one of us that magic number is different. To learn a certain Muay Thai combination, maybe it takes you 200 repetitions. Well, it takes me 500 repetitions to really get it to where we can just do it. We can just pull it off. When you're sparring, it just pops right out there. And you don't have to think about it. It just happens, and it's fluid, and it's accurate, and it's effective, and it's efficient. Those are key elements to understanding when you've got it. It's not when you understand the intellectual concept of how to punch and how to kick. It's when your body responds without the need to think about it. Okay, just a little something for you to think about. Okay, so back to our footwork. Okay, we're going to step and slide, step and slide. We're going to shuffle to the left, pivot, turn back to the center. Okay. Play with those a little bit, work them, speed them up, slow them down, do whatever you can to get that down. Okay? All right, thanks.